Hi everyone, welcome back to the session. I hope you all are doing good. So again, today's session is important from an examination perspective, but here we are going to see one report. Which report beta? So you can just see on your screen itself that today we are going to talk about global economic prospects. When it comes on to this report beta, it is very important to remember that World Bank is the one who releases it, who publishes it. Is it yearly or biennial? So this is biennial, as in this particular report is released twice a year, first in the January and next we see in the June. So this is the one which is recently released. And when I specifically talk about global economic prospects, this is one of the reports that gives us analysis about what is going in an economy, what is the growth aspects of the global economy. It gives us analysis of the particular economies also, that this particular economy is going through this much of problem, and according to that we are expecting that in the coming years and this year also it will grow this much of, in this much of percentage. So ये क्या बताता है बेटा? It tells us, it's a kind of forecast also which tells us about the economies, and also it tells about what is exactly happening in an economy. Okay, not each and everything, but the growth prospects of an economy. कि अगर कोई problem है तो इसके कारण इसकी growth जो है वो hamper हो सकती है. इस पर्टिकुलर रिपोर्ट से हमें पता लगेगा. अगर समथिंग इज बेटर, लाइक इफ गवर्नमेंट इज कंटिन्यूअसली वर्किंग टुवर्ड्स द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर इकोनॉमी, सो दिस विल टेल दैट ओके दीज आर द मेनी स्टेप्स एंड अकॉर्डिंगली वी विल सी दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर इकोनॉमी विल ग्रो इन द कमिंग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. सो इट टेल्स अस व्हाट बेटा? दिस टेल्स अस द forecast also. This tells us the growth conditions that we are going to see in any of the economy, and here we are going to analyze the situation at the macro perspective, and according to that an analysis has been done of the micro perspective also, as in world का perspective भी देखेंगे और उसके अंदर हम economies भी देखेंगे, as in we will see the condition of India as well, that what is the expected one, okay, what accordingly steps have been taken. So we will analyze each and everything. Here when it comes on to specifically India beta, we will see the stance of monetary, when it comes on to RBI, the steps which have been recently taken. We are going towards the easy monetary policy, right? हमने repo rate में देखा कि अभी कितना ज़्यादा जो है वो decrease आया. So we will see that also, how it is going to impact. We will see that as well. So before I start with the video, one reminder for all of you beta, on 21st of June we are going to conduct one webinar for all of you, which is in which Anil sir is going to guide you about the 60-day study plan. And I've told you many times beta, if you want to succeed you should have a clear path, right? And for that we are going to give it here. And what are the timings beta? That is 4 p.m. so you need not to do anything else, but all you need to do is to go in the description, descriptive section. You need to click on the link, register yourself, and just attend the session and attend very attentively. Okay, now coming on to the report itself. So this says that recently what has happened, we see that a lot of shocks have taken place. For example, COVID pandemic, we have our world, when it comes on to global economy, it had an impact of it also. फिर उसके बाद रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर लगा लो, अभी जो the wars जो है वो चल रही हैं. For example, we have geopolitical tensions, that is also taken into consideration when it comes on to shock specifically. After effects of COVID-19, inflation हमें देखने को मिला, cost of living got increased, people are suffering from that as well. So although we have a lot of global shocks which are going on, and this has been very regular in a manner. If one problem settles down, another problem rises. So this is what we are going through. But along with that, we also have to check that after effects of what are the after effects of economic shocks, and along with that how we have to tackle with them. So here it says that according to World Bank June 2025 beta, global economic prospects report, global growth is a forecast to decline to 2.3 in 2025. So this data is important from an examination perspective, that the after effects when it comes on to global, when it comes on to global economic shocks, what is the after effect of it? Decrease in the growth of global economies. What is the number here beta? That is 2.3% in 2025. Okay, now this marks the slowest pace of expansion since 2008, which excludes the periods of formal global recession. But although we see that the today's number, what are the forecast? What is the forecast of 2025 beta? That is 2.3%. But is it going to same in the coming years also? No. it is expected, it is forecasted that in the coming period of, in the coming years, we will see that the growth, what is projected here, I'm again repeating, the projected growth, okay, the projected growth is what? This is 2.4 and 2.6%, that is below the earlier expectations. This is the revised one beta. But now what we are projecting, if the situation continues like this only, अगर और ज़्यादा वर्स होती है, सो ग्रोथ रेट जो है वो और ज़्यादा डिक्लाइन होने को मिल सकता है. रिमेंबर, दिस इज जस्ट अ फॉरकास्ट, ओके, दिस इज नॉट द एक्चुअल नंबर्स, बट दिस इज जस्ट द फॉरकास्ट. दिस इज ऑल बेस्ड ऑन द एनालिसिस. सो हियर इट सेज that in the coming period of time we will see that it can go to 2.4 as well as 2.6 as well. But today's, as in this year's economic growth is at what percentage? It is just at 2.3%. Now it is highly impacting our emerging economies also. When it comes on to south, global south, and when it comes on to less developed and developing economies also, they are also getting impacted. How? So when it comes on to global shocks, when it comes on to the uncertainty which is there in an economy, so सबसे ज़्यादा highly impact कौन होता है? अगर कोई भी problem आती है society में, तो उस प्रॉब्लम से सर्वाइव जल्दी कौन करता है? सबसे पहले तो वी हैव डिवाइड दैट वी हैव्स एंड हैव नॉट्स. बट सिमिलरली, इफ देयर इज एनी ऑफ द अनसर्टेनिटी दैट इज देयर ड्यू टू एडवांस्ड टेक्नोलॉजीज, ड्यू टू एडवांस्ड स्ट्रक्चर, ड्यू टू एडवांस्ड हाई इनकम ऑल्सो, कहीं ना कहीं जो डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज है वो सर्वाइव करती है, बट इट हाईली इम्पैक्ट्स द डेवलपिंग इकोनॉमी. सो दिस इज व्हाट हैव बीन सेड हियर, दैट it specifically poses significant constraints on emerging market and developing economies, that is also hampering them. Hampering what beta? सबसे पहले तो income, okay, that is hampering their income, as in they are not able to meet the targets, they are not able to compete with the advanced technologies. Similarly, along with that, they are also getting hampered in the employment part also. They are not getting sufficient employment, as and when we have seen a lot of problems which are going on just because of the economic shocks. Along with that, they are also going through the extreme poverty. So this is how, and these are the areas where they are getting impacted. Along with that, it has also been specifically mentioned beta that we have downside risks to the global outlook which remain predominant. That includes what? One is escalation of trade barriers. We see today, अभी हमने रेसिप्रोकल टैरिफ्स का केस देखा था, उससे कहीं ना कहीं जो है आफ्टर इफेक्ट उसका क्या बना बेटा, कि लोगों या फिर अगर मैं बात करूं हमारी इकोनॉमीज की ग्रोथ कहीं ना कहीं जो है वो हैम्पर हुई है ना. बट दैट टू इन अ शॉर्ट टर्म पर्सपेक्टिव, इफ वी सी इंडियाज ऑल्सो, इफ वी सी इंडियाज केस ऑल्सो, सो इन द लॉन्ग पर्सपेक्टिव वी हैड एन अपॉर्चुनिटी हियर, ओके, वी हैव एन अपॉर्चुनिटी हियर बिकॉज ट्रेड वॉर देन स्टार्टेड बिटवीन यूएस एज वेल एज चाइना. सो दे हैव टू देन शिफ्ट देयर मार्केट, राइट. यहाँ पे in triple digits, no one is going to pay the tariff. Of course, they are going to find some alternative, and when it comes on to alternative, since we are rich in population, we are the best alternative here for the rest of the economies. So this is where we found out that India will have an opportunity, but in the long period of time. But what is the case of shorter one? We got every economy, I would say each and every economy got hampered somewhere or another. So यहाँ पे जो economies हैं, they are going more towards a protectionist policies, and that is also an after effect of it, okay. Wait, okay, next we have is geopolitical instability, but I have already told you when it comes on to the borders, there is no peace between the two borders. There is always tussle somewhere or another. There is tussle going on between two of the borders, that is hampering them, okay, that is hampering the rest of the economies also. Along with that, we have when it comes on to climate change, so it is also impacting our economy. We recently saw one case. And along with that, when it comes on to increase in the global warming, when it comes on to increase in the temperatures, it is somewhere or another hampering our food security as well as the lives of the people also. This is another problem. And because of these problems, who is highly getting impacted beta? That is the developing economies, okay. Those are the developing economies, and you can include the emerging markets also. Then we have the fragile investor sentiment due to volatile financial markets. When it comes on to financial markets, so again, there is a lot of volatility which is related to it. So investors somewhere or another lose their interest also. Some investors somewhere or another have to face the uncertainty also. That is also an impact here. And out of that, again, developing economies, emerging markets are the one who's highly getting impacted here. Along with that, when I see the case of India, so although, okay, along with that, one important thing, when it comes on to FDI, what about the investment, right? That is also important from an examination perspective. That is also important for any of the economy, right? But what is the case of FDI here? So it is also getting decreased just because of the after effects of what problems we've just said. Okay, so it has been dropped to less than 50% of their 2008 peak. This is also an after effect of that. When it comes on to India's thing, so this particular report says that although when rest of the economies are going through many of the uncertainties, India is the one who's again surviving. Okay, इतना ज़्यादा जो है वो डाउनफॉल देखने को नहीं मिला है. हमने इतना ज़्यादा डाउनफॉल जो है वो कोविड टाइम पे भी नहीं देखा था. अभी भी वी आर सर्वाइविंग, वी आर एट द सर्वाइविंग स्टेट. वी समवेयर अनदर मैनेज. ओके, सो वी आर कंसिडर्ड एज वेरी फ्लेक्सिबल इन नेचर. अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम आती है तो हम जो है उस चीज़ से मैनेज कर लेते हैं. बट व्हाट इज द फोरकास्ट हियर? सो इंडिया हैज़ रिमेन्ड अ ब्राइट स्पॉट, and the World Bank has retained its financial year 25-26 GDP growth forecast for India, that is at 6.3%. Okay, 6.3%. Consider that when I talk about the country's perspective, so that is near to 2.3%. But when I consider the solely of India's case, this is near to 6.3%. Now, however, the projection has marked a downward, a decrease here. But although still we are at a better position. Before the what was projected, this is the revised one. This is the revised one just because of the after effects of maybe geopolitical tensions, maybe protectionist policies which are going on. But previously what was projected was more, but now what has been revised is a little less. But again, we are at a good pace. Previously it was somewhere related to 6.5%. Now it has been decreased. I think it was more than that. I think it was 6.7%, but now it has been decreased, that is to 6.3%, but still the situation is better here. So downward revision of 40 basis points from the banks, but this reflects what? That is the weaken of the global demand as well as trade barriers, which I have specifically told you, as well as the investment activity also, that is also getting slower down. Then when I talk about the ahead, okay, this is the projection of this year, that is 6.3 of 2025. But what about rest of the years, beta? So in 2026-27, revised is down to 6.5%. Okay, then projection for specifically 27-28 is 6.7%. Now consider that previously 6.7 was the case of this year, but now it has been revised. It has been reached out to, it has been targeted to 27-28. So all those situation has been a little imbalanced. Now considering this is not the accurate one, as in this is not the fixed one. Okay, if the situation changes, if it gets worsen, of course there will be decrease. If the situation gets better, there will be increase in the numbers as well as the percentage also. When it comes on to how we are domestically tackling the things, so RBI here is playing a huge important role. Whenever it sees that there is there needs to be liquidity in the market, it does what? To increase the liquidity. What we do to increase the money supply, beta? We increase the instruments, right? The quantitative instruments we have. Recently we saw that repo rate was decreased. This led to what, beta? This led to money supply increase. Now I am not going into the into the technicalities of the how this process goes on, because I've told you many times already. Now if you have any doubt in it, you can just pin that in the comment section and I'll tell those individuals only who are in doubt of it. But whenever we see that there is a decrease in the quantitative instruments, it leads to increase in the money supply, and both have indirect relation with each other. Both goes negative with each other. If one goes in this direction, another goes in this direction. If people have this is the one trick which you people have to remember. You will never get confused here. If ever money's quantitative instruments increase, the money supply decreases. If the quantitative instruments decrease, the money supply increases. This is one of the tricks I have told you here. So what has recently happened, that there is a cut in the repo rate by 50 basis points in June 2025. Now you people tell me, what is the repo rate now? What is the repo rate now? Is it 6%? Is it 5.50%? 5.25%? 5%? Or what is the case? You people tell me here. Okay. You people tell me that what is the repo rate now. Along with that, it has, brought the cumulative cuts for the year, that is 50, 100 basis points. We saw multiple times it has decreased. It was decreased in the year of, in the month of February also, then in the April, then in the, June again. Now it says that with the inflation, what is the forecast here? That is to average 3.7% 2026. What is the aim here, beta? To stimulate the private consumption as well as investment through the proactive policy easing. That is why we are going towards it. What is easy monetary policy, beta? What is easy monetary policy? If we want to increase the money supply, that is easy monetary policy. If we want to decrease the money supply, that is your tight monetary policy. Okay, this is one of the concepts which I have again told you. Next, it says that when it comes on to the Indian government projection about the growth of specifically, India. So we are projecting near 6.3 to 6.8% with an expectation of the continued fiscal consolidation, and the World Bank anticipates a rising tax revenues as well as the rationalization of the current expenditure also. This will support the gradual decline in the India's public debt to GDP ratio. This is what we are projecting. Along with that, when it comes on to global trade and policy dynamics, so it says that there is a deceleration as in the global economies have significantly driven by the rise of the trade protectionism. Okay, people are increasing, as in economies are increasing their import duties, so that people who, the other economies who are trying to, explore their, market, as in explore the other market. For example, there was, reciprocal tariffs. Now, what was, this case here? So there was increase in the tariffs. Okay, there was increase in the tariffs, that is import. Okay, but this was what, beta? This was increase in the protectionist policies. Okay, protectionist policies, you can call it trade protectionism also. Now, how it is going to impact the economies? So if there is increase in the trade, this is an extra cost that is added on in, the prices. So the prices of the products will be increased, and if the prices are increased, who is the one who is going to purchase from me? Who is the one who is going to purchase my own products? So this decreases the market for any of the economy, and it is better for their own domestic producers, but it is not better when it comes on to the global economy. So it specifically says that United Nations have played a huge important role in the decrease of the growth aspects of the major economies, and then this was not the end of it. Then we saw that trade war started between, US as well as China. So this is what has been specifically mentioned here. Along with that, it says that according to World Bank, if trade frictions are resolved, global tariff levels are halved, the global growth will improve by 0.2 percentage points. So this specifically is targeting the reciprocal tariffs, and then what was the case of trade war that started between two of the countries. Now, what are the policy imperatives here? That is for emerging market as well as developing economies here. So it says that what are the global actions? So we need to restore transparent as well as rule-based trade system, because it is important. We cannot go solely, right? We cannot go solely. We are not here living alone. So we have to go with the nations also. So it is very important to go with the trade system, as well as it is very important to be transparent as well. We also need to scale up the support for the vulnerable countries who are facing conflicts, debt stress, as well as climate related shocks. Also, we are in need to enhance the multilateral cooperation, as specifically said that we here cannot, when it comes on to globalization, okay, we are living in the era of globalization, right? We are not the closed economy. We are in an open economy. So for that, if we want to maintain that, it is very important that we trade with the other economies also. That is how balance is going to be maintained. But reciprocal tariffs ने बेटा क्या करा, यहाँ पे इसने एक जो है कहीं ना कहीं बैरियर की तरह एक्ट करा है कि ये जो सिस्टम है उसने हैम्पर करने की कोशिश करी है, and it has directly impacted our growth. Now, what are the domestic priorities in the emerging market as well as developing economies, beta? So one, we need to strengthen our inflation management as well as the fiscal resilience through the enhanced revenue mobilization, as well as we also need to take care of our expenditure also. Along with that, we also need to pursue the structural reforms which are specifically focused towards the institutionalization, strengthening, human capital development as well as labor market efficiency. So these are the steps which can be taken so we can better perform and we can better expect increase in the growth. Now we also need to create a favorable investment climate to attract private climate inflows as well as the stimulation in the job creation also. So here the impact, the area where it is getting focused is towards investment also, which includes your FDI also. We saw this thing now that it is getting decreased by 50%, so we need to maintain that. Okay, along with that, what are the regional economic prospects? This is important. So we have already talked about emerging market as well as developing economies here, but now we will see the case of East Asia as well as Pacific. So what is the problem here? So this is set to slow significantly in 2025 just because of the escalation of trade barriers combined with weaker external demand, another factor, and the financial market volatility. So these are the reasons which are impacting it. Next, when I talk about Europe as well as Central Asia, so again the tariffs, the trade. So this is driven by the exposure of cross-border trade flows, so we need to improve it. Along with that, we also continues to be affected when it comes on to the uncertainty which is there in the energy security, regulatory fragmentation as well as spillover effects from the advanced European economies. So these are the reasons behind it. Okay. Along with that, when I talk about South Asia, so this is moderate slightly, but what is the case here, beta? That is reflecting the domestic policy tightening, as in people or the economy there is not going towards the increase in the money supply. Okay, they are going to curb it. They are going to go tight in a manner, and if they see there might be increase in inflation, that is the reason they are curbing it. So here it says that this shows the tightening one, but in some countries, and the impact is what of softening the global demand on trade investment. Now this is the case here. Along with that, when I talk about European and this is done, this is done, right? Okay, so when I talk about sub-Saharan Africa, so this shows that it has been revised downwards with many of the countries who are facing one factor, which is external headwinds from slowing of the global demand beta 1 for the key commodities as well as the domestic challenges. Now what are the domestic challenges here? So maybe inflation, maybe unavailability of the job things, maybe elevated debt levels, limited fiscal space. So these are the factors behind it. Okay, these are the many factors which are behind it. Now when I talk about the India, so we are already done with it कि 6.3 जो है वो केस है. Reasons क्या क्या हैं? सबसे पहले तो we have a weak external demand. This is one of the thing, and we have read this thing that we need to improve it. Along with that, barriers, protectionist policies की तरफ जब लोग जा रहे हैं, जब other economies जा रही हैं, so it is somewhere or another impacting us. Along with that, investment also has been slower down, but we have to invest, we have to come up with some of the projects which should attract the private investors, and they should start coming and they should start investing in India. This is one of the aspects here. Now what are the sector drivers? So one is services sector. We've seen this thing that services sector is the one who is performing better when it comes on to specifically trade as well as the case of India. Now what it says about the Reserve Bank, so we've already done with it. Okay, we are already done with it, that it has increased, decreased the repo rate by 50 basis points recently. Your obligation here is to tell me the repo rate here. Okay, I gave you some options. So this is what we have to go with it. Along with that, what are the forecasts? So we read this thing that 6.5% is the forecast here, and we read about the government as well. Now specifically talking about the real GDP growth, so it has slowed to 6.5% right from 9.2%. Now what is real GDP growth beta, which doesn't tell us about the fluctuations. Okay, it comes on to nominal one, so it tells about the fluctuations also. It includes the prices of the food, it includes the prices of the fuel as well, but real GDP is not the one. But what are the factors behind it beta? So the moderation in the prime industrial production is one beta. Next, continues the continued strength in the agricultural as well as services sector. This is the one here. Okay, now when I talk about the World Bank, so it projects the continued fiscal consolidation in India that is underpinned by robust tax revenue mobilization and the controlled public expenditure. This is what has been specifically observed by World Bank. So this India aims to reduce what? Your public debt to GDP ratio. Okay, टू जीडीपी रेशियो। नाउ व्हाट इज दैट बेटा, कि हमारे पास जितनी भी हमारी जीडीपी है, जो हमारी टोटल इनकम है, उसमें से हमारी जो पब्लिक डेट है उसकी परसेंटेज क्या है, ठीक है। सो दिस इज टू अराउंड 50% बाय 2030. वी हैव टू रिड्यूस इट बाय 50% टू 2030. वी हैव टू एंश्योर दैट इट इज नॉट मोर देन दैट, बिकॉज जितना पब्लिक डेट होगा उतना ज्यादा जो है वो प्रॉब्लम भी क्रिएट हो सकती है. सो वी हैव टू एंश्योर दैट वी रिमेन विद इन द लिमिट ओनली. Along with that, what are the global economic outlook prospects? So we've already read that 2.3% in 2025 is what we are observing here. By 2025, 2026, 27, we will observe it to be at 2.4%. 27 में we will see it at 2.6%. Okay. Now चैलेंजेस कौन कौन से बेटा डेवलपिंग इकोनॉमी से, सो हमने ये देखा कि जो अगर मैं चैलेंजेस की बात करूं तो यहाँ पे सबसे पहले तो जो हमारा टैरिफ या फिर अगर मैं बात करूं जो हमारी प्रोटेक्शनिस्ट पॉलिसीज है, ठीक है, वो कहीं ना कहीं हैम्पर कर रही हैं. अब इसके कारण हमारी जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं वो भी जो है वो सही नहीं मिल रही है हमें. अलॉन्ग विद दैट एफडीआई जो है वो भी हमारी कहीं ना कहीं हमें डिक्रीज होती हुई मिली है. फिर उसके बाद व्हाट यू कैन इंक्लूड दैट व्हेन इट कम्स ऑन टू प्रोटेक्शनिस्ट पॉलिसी, इट इज देयर, एम्प्लॉयमेंट है, एफडीआई है. फिर उसके बाद अगर मैं बात करूं तो यहाँ पे एक वार्निंग दी गई है कि हमारा जो क्लाइमेट चेंज है ना बेटा, वो भी कहीं ना कहीं जो है हमें इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है. सो दीज आर द मेनी सिचुएशंस दैट आर बिहाइंड इट. ओके, सो दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव ऑलरेडी रेड. Along with that, when it comes on to global risk as well as recovery exponentials, so we have trade tensions. So nearly 70% of the countries have seen growth forecast that has been decreased. What is the after effect? From what situation? From what are the factors behind it? That is reciprocal tariffs. Okay, reciprocal tariffs. So just because of one country, we have seen downgrade in the forecast of growth. Along with that, there are also policy uncertainties which remain critical here and we need to improve it. But what is the scope of rebound beta? So we need to ensure that the trade dispute settles down so that we can expect growth in the coming period of time. Geopolitical tension should be gone out so that we can expect growth in the coming period of time. We have to make our policies with respect to the problems which are there in that particular economy, as in to solve that. Okay, along with that, we if the global tariffs gets halved, we will see that there will be increase in the growth by 0.2 percentage point. Okay, this is what is specifically mentioned here. India का जो growth aspect है हमने देख लिया है. Now what are the drivers as well as the headwinds here? So it says that downward pressure जो है वो किसके कारण है? So there is weak export demand due to slower of the demand specifically in the major trading partners. Along with that, rising global trade barriers, which is protectionist policies also, protectionist tariffs also, and the heightened of the geopolitical trade tensions. Along with that, there is also policy uncertainties. So these are the problems here. But what can be the solution? What are the positive impulses here? So one is that services sector has been strengthened. Okay, we see that although merchandise trade is somewhere or another uncertainty जो है वहाँ पे है, but जो हमारा services sector है, it is better performing. So services sector is the one here. And benign inflation environment that which is enabling the monetary easy policy. अब हमारी जो inflation है वो control में है, तभी तो हम easy monetary policy की तरफ जा रहे हैं ना बेटा. हमारी अगर मनी सप्लाई बेटा लिंक करने की कोशिश करना, ठीक है. अगर हमारे पॉकेट में बेटा ज्यादा पैसा होगा तो प्रोड्यूसर हमें ज्यादा चार्ज करेगा. क्यों? क्योंकि दैट इंडिविजुअल नोज दैट my consumer is very much capable to pay the money, so they will start charging us extra. But now we see that there is ease in the inflation. Then only is the reason that we are trying to give money to the individuals. Monetary policy, monetary जब मैं मनी सप्लाई की बात करती हूँ तो उसको इंक्रीज करने का मतलब क्या है कि लोगों के पॉकेट में ज्यादा पैसा हो और यहाँ पे इन्फ्लेशन कहीं ना कहीं कंट्रोल में है. तभी हम चाह रहे हैं, तभी आरबीआई चाह रही है कि यहाँ पे जो लोगों के पॉकेट में है वो पैसा हो ताकि लोग अलग अलग चीजों पे इन्वेस्ट करना स्टार्ट करें, ठीक है, डिमांड करना स्टार्ट करें, इन्वेस्टमेंट करना स्टार्ट करें. दिस इज व्हाट इज द रीजन बिहाइंड इट. अलॉन्ग विद दैट, गवर्नमेंट एफर्ट्स टू कंसोलिडेट द फिस्कल अकाउंट्स एज वेल एज द एनहांसमेंट ऑफ द टैक्स बायंसी इज वन ऑफ द रीजंस हियर. नाउ जो हमारा रिस्पॉन्स है, हमने पहले ही देख लिया कि हमारा जो रिस्पॉन्स है वो क्या है. अब जो फिस्कल आउटलुक है वो क्या बोलती है? सो वी हैव कंटिन्यूड विद द fiscal consolidation with the higher tax revenues बेटा and public debt to GDP जो रेशो है हमें 50% तक जो है इसको डिक्रीज करना है by 2030-31. ओके, सो दिस इज द रीजन बिहाइंड इट. एंड जो हमारा अगर मैं ब्रॉड फोरकास्ट की बात करूं, सो दिस सेज दैट ग्लोबल जीडीपी जो है बेशक ये यहाँ पे अगर 2.3 तक तो जो है वो ये अभी तक जो है वो 2.3 है, बट यहाँ पे हम क्या कर सकते हैं, अगर हमारी ट्रेड टेंशन जो है वो स्टेबल हो जाए, सो वी विल एक्सपेक्ट increase in the coming period of time. Geopolitical tensions अगर चली जाए so हम इसमें भी betterment जो है वो कर सकते हैं. Along with that we also need to invest on projects also so that जो FDI है वो increase हो सके. ठीक है, so these are the many factors behind it. Now what is the outlook for the global recovery? So बेटा ये सारी चीजें जो है हमने कर ली हैं. ठीक है, all right. So this is it. We are done with the outlook global recovery also, and we have also seen that trade and investment somewhere or another decreasing, but we can, this situation can be controlled if we go towards it. So this is the analysis of this particular report. Whatever is important from your examination perspective, I've taken into consideration each and everything. हमने global perspective का भी जो है हमने we have seen the case of India as well. So you need not to go and repeat, and you need not to go towards the report and read each and every page. Whatever is important from your examination perspective, we've already included it. Okay, so if the question is asked, ये जो data है इसको बेटा याद कर लेना. This important, this data is important here. So all right, I'm now ending my session here. I hope each and everything is clear to you. But otherwise, if you have still any doubt, you can just pin that in the comment section. I'll of course address it. Okay, thank you so much, beta. I'll meet you in the next one. Thank you.